Hi, I'm Lance Moore. I'm the Regional Clinic Director here at PFMCHow Clinic. Today we're in our Brighton Clinic, and today Matt is going to be helping me go through some core stabilization exercises. Now typically with most of my patients with low back pain, there is some weakness in the core which can contribute to the back pain and also prolong your recovery. So these are some exercises that I would typically go through with my patients. So the first one is going to be a plank progression. So Matt is going to be on his knees and elbows, and he is going to be holding a flat position like a plank, if you will. His elbows are going to be right underneath his shoulders, and his knees are just going to be bent and on the table. This is a very good starting position, but it's important to work through the progression so that you're not performing any of these incorrectly. Okay, how does that feel, Matt?
Good.
Pretty easy for you?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to progress to the next one. It's going to be on his knees and his hands. So commonly what happens is, like Matt's doing right now, his hips are up very high, which is negating some of the stabilization stimulus on the core. So we're going to have Matt scoot his upper body forward more towards this direction. So kind of move your hands back. There we go. And then hold that position. Okay? How does that feel, Matt?
Good.
His back's pretty flat. He's not dropping his hips too much. He's not lifting them too high anymore. Okay, and take a rest. Now for the third progression of the planks. If you can complete the other steps, then you can go on to the next one. So one thing I forgot to mention is that you should be able to hold each position for a minute. If you can't hold it for a minute, you should keep that as your exercise and not progress on to the next one. Matt did pretty well on these, and I know he's got a strong core, so we're going to progress to the third one. So for this one, Matt will be on his toes and his elbows. And then he's going to keep his back flat. Let's move your feet in a little closer, Matt. The wider your feet are, the more stable you're going to be, so you're not going to get as much benefit out of this exercise. Matt's back is in a good position. Can you show us how it would look like if you dropped your hips down too far? So this, as you start to get tired, is what's going to happen to your back, or the opposite, if you lift your hips up, that will happen. And that is our body's natural reaction to try to make the exercise easier. So we want to fight that and really make it work. All right, you can take a rest, Matt. The next progression is going to be on your toes and your hands. This one is typically going to be the hardest, and it may take a while before you're able to progress to this one. Once again, Matt has a great form here. His back's flat. His hands are right underneath his shoulders. So hands underneath shoulders. He's going to maintain this position. If he can do this for over a minute, then he's ready for the finale. So for this one, Matt would be lifting one hand up off the table. Good, and back down. And then the other one. Good, and back down. So this is quite difficult, as you can see. Matt's body twisted back and forth, so you really want to try to keep that straight. So instead of the hands, let's switch to the leg. So let's lift one leg up. Good, very good, and the other leg up. Good, and take a rest. All right, how did that feel when you were lifting a leg or hand up off the table?
It's good. It's more difficult, but it's still good.
Good, very good. So the goal with core strengthening is we want to challenge it enough that we have improvements. And you can only do that by being at the proper stage of the progression for the planks. The next exercise we're going to go over is bird dogs, and these will look somewhat similar to the planks. Matt will be on his hands and knees, and then he's going to lift one arm and one leg up off the table. Good, and back down. Now can you show us how that would look if you really try to put some body English in it? Good, so Matt, you notice how his hips are twisting up? You want to try to keep your hips level throughout the exercise. So think about bracing your stomach, you can relax. Think about bracing your stomach as if someone was about to punch you. Nobody's gonna punch you today, Matt, you're okay. But that's the movement you want to make to tighten your core up. Okay, so let's alternate back and forth. Good, and then switch. Good. And each time Matt resets and makes sure he's stable before he goes on to the other side. Good, okay, you can take a rest. For the next exercise, we're going to review some of the muscles for the low back. often these muscles that help us keep our spine straight are overlooked when it comes to core stabilization. But in my opinion, they're one of the more important aspects of having a strong low back and a strong core. So for this, Matt is going to start on his stomach. He's going to keep his legs straight, and then he's going to lift one leg up and back down, and then the other leg up and back down. Good. So one thing you don't want to do on this one is you don't want to lift your leg too high, which sounds silly, but if you lift it too high, you're just going to be twisting your body, your hips and your back, and possibly creating some pain. So just lift up until you get to a point where you don't have to twist your body anymore. So alternating back and forth. That looks pretty easy for Matt. All right, where are you feeling this one at?
Right here in my low back.
Okay, good. You should feel somewhat in the glutes and then somewhat in the low back on this one. So now let's do one arm and one leg. Good. And with this, you want your arm to be straight out like that. You want your leg to remain straight the whole time. Good. And then alternating back and forth. There we go, just like that. So Matt's pretty good at this. He's got a good form. So we're going to progress to the full Superman. So Matt is going to lift both arms up and both legs up. So notice on these, he keeps his legs straight. He's not bending at the knee. He's also not letting his arms bend as he's lifting them up. His upper body is coming up off the table. That's good. Now try to demonstrate it keeping your head down on the table. So you notice he just doesn't get as much activation in the spine. And that's okay, because we want to be able to lift our head up and our torso up to really fully benefit from this exercise. Now, if you're feeling really frisky, you can hold that for a timed one, anywhere from 5 seconds up to, some people hold it for 60 seconds. How's that feeling, Matt?
It's good.
Okay, all right, you can take a rest. This final exercise we're going to go over is called a hip hinge. Now this is important to use the glutes and the legs to do most of the bending instead of the low back. So for this, Matt, I want you to think about sticking your bottom out to the back. Good, and back up. So with this, let's turn this way just a little bit. With this, Matt is going to keep his back in the same position up here as when he's bending forward. So that's not going to change. He's going to do most of the bending at his hips. And this is important because the hips are much better at bending forward and moving big loads than our back is. Okay, let's do that again, but let's do it rounding your back so people can kind of see. So there, his back position changed. It's now rounded. It's not the same as when he was standing up. That means there's going to be more stress on the low back, which can cause back pain. Okay? So with that, we hope these exercises are helpful. If you're experiencing back pain, try these out. If you need more guidance, you can find us at peakformclinic.com. There you can find information about our clinic locations, as well as information on how to schedule an appointment. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.